Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to talk tires. Reason why I'm kind of bringing this topic up, I recently, you guys know I purchased this X5. It had different sets of tires on it. So the reason I want to talk about this video is a few things. One is I see this topic come up a lot, is staggered tires. What are they? How do you benefit from them? And the next thing I'm going to cover are winter tires. And what are winter tires? Why do you need tires for winter? So we're gonna cover these items, so keep watching. So guys, what's a staggered tire? So any car has a staggered tire means the car or SUV or truck, mostly cars, SUVs, the rear wheels are wider than the front wheels. So it's not just the tires alone, the actual rims are wider, which means that you need to put a wider tire on here. So looking at the case of the M3 or this Mercedes CC3 or even the X5, if you look at the tire size, this is a 285 30 19 in the rear, and up front is a 255 35 19. So the width of the surface is 255, and the sidewall is 35% of that. Okay, and obviously the diameter is 19. When you go to the rear, you have a lot more meat back here. So you're going to a 285, so wider, and to a 30, because if you do 35%, it's going to be a taller sidewall. It's going to be really thick. So you have to shrink that down so it somewhat matches the front. So it's a 30 in the rear, and again 19 diameter. So a staggered tire can benefit from several ways. For one, this car is rear wheel drive. It means all this power is going to the rear wheels. So you want maximum traction. You want all this surface here, all this rubber, to get as much on the road as you can. All right. So with that being said, by having more rubber on the road gives you more traction when accelerating, especially when cornering. When you have a narrow skinny tire, the tire is going to spin more. It's going to want to slip more. And when you're on a track or you're doing aggressive driving, you're going to feel limitations, like the car doesn't want to stay planted. All right, so the wider rear tire, the more traction you're going to have. Just think of it like this, guys. I was editing the video and I thought about me add this in here. Look at drag cars that are built for drag racing. Your top fuel dragsters, they have those wide rear tires, and that's mainly so they can give the best quarter mile, best grip, so they can take off. But look at the front tires. Look how skinny they are, because they're not cornering. They just need to point that car in a straight line and get it to down the quarter mile, down to one. That's all they're doing, just a couple little corrections. But if you're cornering, you want to make the tire wider, and depending on your demands is how wide the tire is going to be. Okay, so that's why you look at race cars like Formula 1, NASCAR, wide tires all the way around. Now the rear wheels will still could be wider, especially in Formula 1, but if you notice, they're a lot wider. And for street cars, it could be formed by aesthetics and other things. So let's continue back to the video. All right, there's some limitations. Obviously, if you go too wide, you're going to run into things of hitting the fenders inside, rubbing issues. But this is what the manufacturer decides is the best fitting for this vehicle. Some vehicles come maybe undersized a little bit, but that's a different topic. When you go into the front wheels doesn't need all of that extra traction, because its only job is to do the steering and braking. All right. So it gets the extra help when the weight transfer, when you brake, that extra weight puts the extra obviously on the front wheels. Now you can make them wider to give you extra turning ability, but most street cars aren't going to benefit from that. When you're talking about a race car, like a NASCAR, for example, or Formula One, they need everything possible to help them. Okay. That means like you need the widest front tire you can fit for steering, braking, and the widest rear tire for obviously braking and acceleration. All right. When you're talking about a front wheel drive car, and I've seen this a lot, I've seen this on like the Acura TL and TLX guys. I don't know why they do it, but they seem to put their sedans, they make the rear wheels wider than the front. And I don't get it. It doesn't make any sense because the front wheels are doing the acceleration, braking, and the steering. Now, I'm not saying make them wider because that will look silly, having the wider tire up front with the front wheel drive setup. But you're going to have, obviously, you'll need more. The limitation of front wheel drive is when you accelerate, the weight of the car, when it comes up, now that lifts all that traction is limited. So having, having rear wheels wider doesn't help you, doesn't do anything, just all for appearance. Now that we covered that background, let's go towards the X5. Why does the X5 have that? Even though it's the SUV, why does it need wider rear tires? And doesn't need wider rear tires since there are some that has options. Well, BMW says, you know what? We want to make sure that this is a sport activity vehicle. We want to make sure that we show people that this is obviously the vehicle that is a performance driven. We're still a performance SUV. If someone was to buy a normal X5, no M Sport, just nothing, they're going to get the regular same size tires front and back, which is also called a squared setup. Okay, that means the front and the rear are the same size. The advantages to that is you can rotate those tires when you want. So you can rotate the tires front and back. They're the same size rims. You can get even wear. But when you get to the staggered size, it just means that, you have wider rear tires. The car, this SUV can handle a little bit better. It can put the power down a little bit more. And then when you think about the cornering, it's the same advantages to what I mentioned before with the car. By having that wider rear end, the rear tires have more meat. Most people aren't going to track a normal X5. Maybe occasionally you see the M guys, they'll track them if they can, if their club allows it. But you're going to see more people with these. They're going to have the Staggered is mostly for looks because it is showing you're giving that a muscular appearance. I can't tell you it doesn't look good because it does look good. It just has that BMW-ness look to it, like we're aggressive, we are built for handling. And it does help. If these cars were pushed to limit, it does help because even though this is an X drive, the majority of power is going to go towards the rear regardless. So having that extra tire set up in the rear is going to help with traction. Okay, if someone were to track the M or take the M on the track, and they would appreciate the wider rear tires, because the less you can rely on the X drive to send traction up front, the more that you can take advantage of the power and come out of the turns faster, because you don't have to spin. It's not going to slip. If it slips, guess what? X drive is going to direct more power to the front wheels, which can then, if you have high power front end, if the front end is driving the car, it's not going to want to corner as easy. It's going to want to push more. Make sense? Disadvantages to Staggered: you can't rotate them. Okay, you cannot rotate these tires. They have to. You can go side to side if they're not non-directional, but that's it. Directional means the tread pattern is going to be cut a certain way. That's usually it. They're made a certain way to handle water, usually water, snow, things like that. So these tires on this X5, it is a 285 35 21. All right, so 285, almost is actually the same size as the rear tire in this Mercedes. This front tire in this SUV. The rear tire is going to be a 325 30 21. So again, really wide tire. I will say this, on the F chassis and up, it's really hard to really gauge the staggered setup on these, because they just don't, it's hard. The body, they made them wider. When you look at the E70 chassis, I feel like I see those, I'm like, man, those cars, they really stand out, they really pop out. And you just see the wide tires, you really can get a gauge of how the stance is on those. Okay guys, hope this was easier to understand. Now we're going to talk about tires and which tire would you go for. So if I'm looking at tires, if I have an X5, because right now a lot of my subscribers are X5 drivers, or X6 drivers. If I'm in the staggered size, the 275 315 rears, I'm going to look at I like the Hankook Ventus SL1s. I like those. I put those personally on my X5. I thought they're smooth riding tire. I had a special. I was able to get them for like $600, but right now they're going for $900. I think on a summer performing tire, that would be decent. The Nito NT55 looks like a good option. I never personally tried those, but I would probably be curious with those too. I think anyone in Michelin will be all right. Now, if we're talking all season performance, my first probably go-to would be the Continental Contisport DWS06. I've used those tires in my Audi. They did really well in the wintertime. I had trouble actually trying to get those tires to even break loose when I was trying to do donuts. With traction control off, of course they were brand new. The second time I went around, the next 2 years I went up there, and it was like, I probably need some better tires. Tires were halfly worn down, but like I said, when all season tire loses half its life, its winter grabbing ability will be degraded. Okay. That tire actually had an indicator, DBWS on the tread itself. And when the S got worn off, the tire was only suitable for dry and wet. When the W got worn off, the tire was only suitable for dry, and then you probably need to replace them. They have a summer version of that tire, the DW. I'll probably look for that too if I'm looking for a summer tire. And then there's also I don't know, the Michelin Pilot, the all season 4. I will probably look at that. I really like Michelin's. So I probably would experiment with that, because the pricing seemed to be kind of comparable to what I would spend for the Continental. And I ran the Continentals, ran them on even my Acura. I ran those tires on it. And front wheel drive, and doing deep snow when they were new, I felt like I was like an all-wheel drive car, just going through all this deep snow, driving through mounds of snow. So that's something to take in consideration. If you're running the squared setup on the X5, X6, if you have I believe it's either the 18s or 19s on my X5 or X6, I would think I would still go for, I think just an all-around performing tire, longevity will probably be the Continental DWS 06. Obviously, guys, it depends on your budget, depends on what you feel that's your needs. But I mean, you can't go wrong with Michelin or Continental. Even the Hankook tires have some good options. I think at one point there are some OE equipment on some of the BMWs, so If you can find some good hand hooks, they're actually, I haven't, like I said, I haven't had a personal problem. I thought they were a really good tire. Like I said, it's all depending on budget. Depends on what you want. When you're in those sizes, you have a lot more options. As we get to our 20 inch and our 21 inch, especially the 21 inch guys, we just don't have any options. And if you're in the X5, I'm sorry, the X5M or the X6Ms, the F85, F86, for the 20 inch size, you only have one option, literally one option. So just something to think about. As far as run flats, get rid of them. Just get rid of the run flats. If you're not needed, you can save a lot more money using carrying around a fix and flat, can, and you could potentially just save that money for potential in case you need to replace a tire. But either way, if you have run flat and you get a flat in it, you still need to replace a tire. It's just going to cost you more. The benefit of run flat is that you can drive 50 miles on a flat. So either 50 miles, you go somewhere to replace a tire, or 50 miles, you go replace your tire. You either get towed there or you drive there. For me, if I can get a fix a flat can and spray it, or fill it up real quick, or if I can plug it on the side of the road, that's a lot cheaper option than spending the extra money for the run flat. I think they're just the ride quality run flats are horrible. They're the stiffer style wall that's made to support the vehicle when it's flat. They just seem to give the caveat is just a harder ride. It's a firmer ride. That's something to think about. So I hope this is helpful. Guys, thanks for watching. Subscribe, and if you don't anything helpful, just give me a thumbs up. That's all. Thank you.